Okay guys, at this point in the course, it's time to have a lesson where I just play games. And typically you see me playing live games, but this time I wanted to do something that a lot of you suggested, which is playing against one of the engines. And the reason being is that we're gonna have more control. So I don't have to be rushing, we're not gonna have the timer. I will have more time to explain the moves and the ideas and so on. Now, as you can see, even though I don't like to play computers that much, I use it a lot for my students. So all of these beginner ones, we have used almost all of them. This one right here is the one that they hate a lot, because when they jump from beginner, let's say this 850 to 1000, they feel the difference until soon they just adjust and it's not a problem anymore. We have some 1800 here, Lorenzo, that they have played, some of them. Now this one is one that they like to play a lot. I didn't really know him, but a lot of my students happen to know him, so they wanted to play him. And for me guys, I wanted to play someone that a lot of you know, and I think it's gonna be more fun. And I wanted to play Antonio. I doubt it, but if anyone doesn't know who he is, here you have the information. And I'm pretty sure that if you look to the side now, you should be getting one of his videos as a suggestion under this video. So if you want to run the experiment, take a look and let me know in the comments if you have his videos as a suggestion for you guys now. Guys, the reason why I want to play him is, again, because all of you should know him, but also because his rating here in chess.com, the rating for this robot is 2000. So I wanted to play him, that's a good rating. And if I lose, then the next time that I play a robot, depending on your feedback, if I do it again, if I lose, I'm going to be playing someone lower rated. So maybe we could go, I think I saw one of these girls, maybe 1800. Yeah, so we could do Andrea. And if I defeat him, I could go up a little bit more, maybe 2100. And then if I get lucky and I defeat this 2100, I could go up to Gotham Chess, so you should know him as well. So this is a 2500 and so on. Maybe you don't like this idea of playing engines, but I think we could, of course, sometimes do live games, sometimes do robots. So anyways, I'm going to go here to Antonio. I'm going to choose him, and then I'm going to start as the black pieces. I'm going to try to play 2 games, one as black, one as white, and hopefully it allows us to put in practice everything that we have learned up to lesson number 93. So let's get started. I'm going to hit play and E4. Guys, I'm going to play the Picks. If he had done D4, then I'll be doing the King's Indian defense, which is what we have been learning lately. So I'm going to do D6, and let's see what system he chooses to play against the Picks defense. So knight C3, G6, and we got the classical. So we're not doing the 150 or the Austrian. I'm just going to continue with bishop G7, then queen D2, a little bit weird, like he's putting the queen on the same diagonal as the bishop. That's not, it shouldn't be a good move. So I'm just going to continue with castling, and then it's time for me to decide what I'm going to do with these two. Now, guys, we have talked, if you're not familiar with this opening, we talked in lesson number 69, where we addressed the classical variation that we could choose one of 2 plans. We could do bishop G4, undermining that knight, then knight C6, E5, and I like that idea, but I'm going to use this time C6. This is the other plan that we talked about, and the reason why I'm going to do it is because when I see the bishop on C4, I know that I could do C6, followed by B5, B4, and when I attack that knight, and the knight moves, the pawn is going to be hanging. So let me try it. Of course, they could do something about it, you see, so they did E5. If they hadn't, let me see if I can go back. Yeah, if I had done C6 and they just castle and I do B5, if the bishop goes to B3, and a lot of people do this automatically, then again, B4, the knight moves and I collect on E4. But anyways, he knows better than that, so E5. And now here, I'm happy to just take. That's why we put the pawn on D6 in the first place. Then he's taking back. Now, if I take the queen, I'm helping him develop the bishop. So that's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move my knight, but I have to be careful because E6 is in the air. So I think I could do knight G4, hitting that pawn. And the question is, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So now I have 2 pieces hitting E5. So we trade queens. Now bishop G5. So look, I see that he's not concerned about the pawn because he's attacking this one, but I'm happy to let him take, because if I do knight E5, hitting the bishop, hitting the knight, if at any point he takes this pawn, he's going to be on the file where his king is. So that could allow me to bring the rook back and get ready for a discovered check. So let me get the free pawn. He took, I take back. And you see, he did not take the pawn because of that discovered. Now, at this point, I have to make a decision. Do I want to trade my bishop for the knight, leave him with a destroyed pawn structure on the queen side? Or do I want to keep my pair of bishops on the board? To be honest, I almost never trade this bishop, the fianchetto bishop, but since the queen is not on the board, the chances of them getting me checkmated due to the weaknesses on the dark squares is very low. So I'm seriously considering just trading and trying to outplay him with the extra pawn and the fact that his pawn structure is destroyed on the queen side. So let me just think about this for a moment. Okay, if I don't take the knight, well, you know what? Let me simplify it. I'm up a pawn, enough for me to simplify the game. And now let me just kick this guy out. So I'm going to solve the problem by hitting the bishop. All right, so I'm going to continue to gain tempos on that bishop. Now I'm going to move the bishop by hitting that pawn. So maybe I get another tempo. I develop by hitting that pawn. All right, so you see, I made him first. I developed with a tempo. So I had a little problem of development. I'm solving it. And I'm making one of his powerful rooks to get passive by defending a pawn. I think a little bit, or an alternative would have been rook b1. I would rather give up the pawn than remain passive. So maybe rook b1, hitting to take on b7. And who knows, I think it's a little bit better than what he did. So anyways, time to develop the knight. So knight d7. And I don't have a development problem anymore. So now knight b6. Look, I'm going to do knight b6. And I know that they could take, but two things about that move. Number one, they're giving me the pair of bishops and they work very well together. But second of all, we learned, I think, lesson 43, 44, that when we get doubled pawns, or when I take here, we also get semi-open file. So I could be putting pressure on that isolated pawn. So let me just go knight b6. Now c4, not a problem. Let me put pressure on that pawn. It's an isolated pawn. And when you put pressure on it, of course, it is going to collapse. All right, so rook d7. I cannot take now because the moment the knight moves, they're going to collect this pawn and they're going to get the rook on the 7th rank. That's the last thing I want. And remember, regardless of the fact that the rook is going to get to the 7th rank, I do not want to trade good pawns for these pawns that are going to fall no matter what. So let me just go rook d7, protecting that pawn and getting ready to double up the rooks on the only open file that we have on the board. So he's concerned about that pawn, fine. I think I'm just going to do, let me continue with this. Okay, do I want to take or no? Well, you know what? Here, if I push the pawn, I'm going to have a passed pawn. That's another long-term liability that they're going to have, my passed pawn. And it could be a protected passed pawn. Now, on the other hand, I could take, followed by rook d4. Nah, I'm going to keep my passed pawn. Guys, small advantages that we could convert little by little. Now, I'm going to do f5. I'm making my bishop a little bit bad, but I'm really happy to have a protected passed pawn. Okay, so he's clearly trying to attack my knight, and I don't really mind it. I could move my knight anytime, but let me just do it now. Knight c8. I'm not happy to put the knight back, but I'm going to reroute it anytime I like. So knight c8. Problem solved. I'm protecting a7. Now, should I do a6? Or, now, how do we capitalize on this? I'm thinking of b6 maybe? No. So he has 1, 2, and 3. And remember, I do not want to trade that weak pawn that they have. Ideally, I would pick it up for free. Now, my rooks are on the only open file, but I cannot penetrate. So I wish I could trade one of those bishops. a6, I don't like it because I'll be creating a permanent weakness here. And that's a semi-open file. So maybe it's time to just, well, I'm going to have to do it or not. Well, you know what? Let me just activate the king, guys. It's not like they're attacking anything. If they do a6, I'm going to do b6. Let me just improve my king a little bit. Okay, doubling up on this file. So I'm going to have to do now, I'm going to have to do this knight d6. Now, is that gonna be enough? Yeah, I think that's gonna, no, this is gonna fall. Well, guys, I think we're gonna have to do b6, and the idea is that even though we help them get rid of their isolated pawn, even if they take on b6 with the bishop, after knight takes, rook takes, our rook is gonna get to the 7th rank, and we're gonna be putting pressure on their pieces. So let's see if he falls for it, or if he goes with that continuation, of course. Now, if he takes on b6, no, he's not taking. Guys, again, after this move, if they take, I'm just going to do knight takes pawn, rook takes, and then my rook gets to the 7th rank. I'm going to be hitting the bishop, this pawn, and they have to be in a worse position. So anyways, they did c5. Of course, I'm not going to trade my pawn. I'm going to do b5 for 2 reasons. Number 1, I keep my pawn structure healthy. Number 2, I'm blocking the file where the rooks are. Now, he sacrificed the bishop. I don't see why not taking. But before I take, oh no, not before I take. I was going to say, I wanted to do an in-between move check, trying to simplify the game even more. But if I did that, they could just take or not, and then the bishop that just took my pawn go back and defend. So I'm not going to do that. Let me get the bishop. And now I'm going to trade rooks. And guys, look at this. At this point, this should be a very easy game to finish. We're winning by a piece, and it's true that they have these passed pawns, but they're weak, they're isolated, they shouldn't go that far. Now, I'm going to set up a little trick here, which is rook f1. If they take, then I'm going to do a fork, and that's a way for me to simplify the game. Now, those of you who are not that experienced, why do I want to simplify the game so much? Well, rule of simplification. If I eliminate the rooks, then I'm going to be left with bishop and knight versus bishop. It should be pretty easy to win. If I could go even further and trade my knight for the bishop, then I'm going to have a bishop that could do anything it likes, and they have no one to stop me with that bishop. So anyways, let me see if it works. If they don't take, then they're going to have to go king g3. The king is going to be completely out of the game. So check. Yeah, he went away. Now, this move doesn't really make sense now. Maybe knight here. No. Well, let me go after this bishop. No. Yeah, let me go after this bishop. Now, look at this. Even more powerful now, because I'm not going to go to f1. I'm going to go to e2, and that will be the 7th rank. So if I do this now, and he leaves, I could get the pawn. Or actually, no, I could get the bishop. So if rook e2, and the king goes anywhere, I'm going to get that bishop. So now they're forced to take my rook, and then bishop c4, and give me the rook. Guys, this pawn is under control. You see, actually, I'm going to take it. Even if we hadn't done that, they could never push that pawn, especially since my king is close by. Another thing, notice how all of my pawns are on a color opposite to the bishop that they have, so they could never attack my pawns. So anyways, I'm going to take here because I know this pawn is not going anywhere. So I'm going to take the pawn, then get my king over here. Doesn't matter. Guys, I'm not going to break this pawn chain. If they take, I take back. I keep my protected passed pawn. Now, how do I get my knight to attack the pawn? I need the knight to be on one of these squares. So let me start moving. And okay, I think maybe there's a faster way to get to it, but okay, so knight d4. Now I have to be careful. If I do this move, take, the pawn goes, but I'm not concerned. The bishop could take care of it. Oh, he took. I was gonna go here anyways and collect the pawn. So let's see. Okay, e3. Guys, I wouldn't push it that far. I would just do this right away, or actually bishop here. That way the bishop is defending and also attacking. But I think I could do king d3, and I have time to do that. But just to keep it safe, bishop a6. Now let me bring my king. Now we take another pawn. And all right, so what's the nicest way to finish this? Well, maybe we just do this. Check. And let's see if he runs out of moves. And then we're gonna get our queen. And nope, he's not gonna give up. Alright guys, so this one, we know how to finish it. So I'm gonna try to do it as traditional as I can. Knight jump position. and then we just bring the king. And checkmate on the next move. All right, guys, so we finished this one. As you can see, we played our Pirk's defense. He chose to do the classical variation, and we just kept it simple all the way. Now, this c6 move, again, you could have done bishop g4. To me, I always have them both as an option. That's why I said in lesson number 69 that even if you like one more than the other, you should, guys, know them both, just in case. Now, e5, typically when they do this against the Pirks, it's not an accurate move. We learned that pushing the pawns in the center when they're not challenged by another pawn leaves weaknesses. They leave weaker squares. So anyways, we took, then knight g4, and that pawn fell. Here, the problem with that, taking that pawn again, was the e-file that the king hasn't castled. So with that said, let me just now hit rematch. So let's play him with the white pieces. How do I do rematch? Let me see, next part, analysis. New game, all right. New game, same. This time I'm going to be the white pieces. And guys, as the white pieces, if I were going to play him freely now, I'll probably do, those of you who have seen me play here on chess.com, you know that I play the bird a lot lately, especially when I'm playing blitz. I know that a lot of people say it's a really bad opening, and I'm not going to argue that, but to me, I like it a lot. It's very simple to play, to understand. So I'm sure that we're going to have a lesson on it, and some of you might enjoy it as much as I do. Now, for this game, I could also do knight f3 and try to force it into a King's Indian attack, but I'm just going to do e4, and let's see what he plays against e4. Okay, e5, double king's pawn opening, and then from here, I really would like to do knight f3, and we could get into maybe the 4 knights opening. Maybe we could do the Ruy Lopez. And there's a very nice line of the Ruy Lopez that I really want to show you. But just for this lesson, maybe next time we play one of these robots, we could use the Ruy Lopez. But I'm going to leave it for when we talk more about it. For now, I'm going to do the opening that we learned in lesson number 34. So this is the Vienna game. But instead of doing bishop c4 or the other variations that we could do, I'm going to do pawn to g3. Again, guys, this is from lesson number 34, I think. So feel free to go back to it if you're not familiar with it. Now, I like it a lot because it's very simple to implement. You just need to know where your pieces go. I'm going to castle, then pawn goes to d3. And my plan here is very simple. I want to do f4, f5, and sort of play this like we learned in the King's Indian defense, in the Pirks. But as you can see now, this bishop is here, so I'm going to move my king first. Now, another move that we learned in lesson number 34 is h3. I want to do typically to prevent these pieces from getting to the g4 square, but also it is going to help me put my king on h2. Right, knight d4, I'm going to ignore it, so king h2, and I'm ready to break on f4. Right, h6, guys, pay attention to this move. This is move number 9, and you're going to see how we're going to use that move to make contact faster, and maybe we could even take advantage of that weakness that could result of the h6 pawn. So I'm going to do f4, and if they're not careful, I'm going to, you see, they moved back because I'm going to do f5 with the tempo, and then the pawn storm continues. I'm going to continue with f5, then a5, you see, center is locked. I think we talked about this in lesson number 91. When we get this kind of positions, we're going to be expanding on the king side. They're going to expand on the queen side. So I'm going to do g4, pawn storm. Now b5, see? I'm going to now do, I wanted to do h4 followed by g5, but this pawn is going to be hanging. So let me move my knight first to the king side. Remember, my business is on the king side. So I want my pieces to go there, and I open up the queen to protect g4. Now b4, he's making contact already, so I could do knight e2, I could do knight b1. I think I'm going to do knight b1. I do not want to interfere with the queen. So going back. Now rook b1, I'm not that concerned about what they could do here. But now, is it safe to do h4? Well, if I do h4, I don't see why not. And then g5. Oh no, it's not safe. Well, guys, if I do h4, I'm looking at a move like, because I'm thinking, look, if I do h4, they could take on g4, but the queen is here. But what if they could deflect the queen. Remember, if I'm the black pieces and after h4 I see that I'm putting pressure on g4, I'm thinking, okay, the defender, I could block it, I could deflect it, I could eliminate it, and in this case they could do something like knight c2, queen takes, followed by knight g4 check, then the queen comes to h4. I don't think that's what I want. So instead, let me see if I could do something like, maybe knight d2, knight f3, nah, c3 maybe. Well, let's get you out of here. Now, typically, I do not want to do anything on the side that I'm being attacked, but we gotta get that knight out of the way. Yeah, he's going back. Now h4 and g5. Is it safe? No, pawn takes, pawn takes. No, it's not safe. Oh, and the queen is coming now to h4. Can we do f6? Nope. King h3 looks a little bit weird, but I think we're gonna have to do. Oof, no, that cannot be a good move. Well, we have to do it, guys. We have to do it. Okay, he took. I'm taking back with the pawn. I just don't want him to come back to d4. Now, g5 is not safe yet. So let me bring the knight to f3. That way I could do g5. Okay. Now he's breaking the center. He knows I'm ready for this, so he's breaking the center. So let's get to it. And now, guys, I'm not concerned again about my king because the center is locked, so I gotta keep it locked. Now, should I get this knight? Well, why not? Now, bishop g5, and did we trap the queen? Oh no, he could go to d6. Well, let's do it. So bishop d6, bishop g5, queen d6, only move, and I'm gonna keep the center locked unless I could do this, then get out of the way with a check. I gotta have something here. All right, guys, so this is a position where I would spend a lot of time. I don't want to, I know I have something here. I don't want to blow it. So the question is, should I just bring the rook? Should I move the knight trying to get the queen to h5? We're winning by a piece and we're getting to that king, but I don't want to rush it. If I do c4, I don't think they could do anything. Well, rook could get to the 7th rank. That could be tricky, but that's about it. I'm just a little bit concerned of risking too much and then I cannot get him checkmated. So let me just keep this locked. That way his bishop, his queen, they cannot do anything to get to my king. All right, so how do I bring more pieces into the game? I could just be happy with the piece that I'm winning by and maybe simplify the game, but what if I could go after that king? Well, let me start by doing this. Let me just bring rooks to the h file. It only makes sense. Okay, rook on the 7th rank. How can I get my queen? How can I get my queen to h5? How can I get my queen to h5? So I'm thinking of queen h5, king g4, not so easy. Okay, so maybe it's time to move my knight. Oh, but then pawn f6. Okay, think. Now, I don't want to bring the knight to the king's side, I mean to h4, because I'm getting in the way of the rook. Okay, well, let me just do this. Let me do this. So I'm protecting the bishop, that way the king could move to g4. Okay. King g4. And then if I do this move, guys, if I do queen h1, that would be checkmate, but not quite. So time to go back to, okay, look, I'm gonna get away from this attack on the bishop by attacking something. So I don't wanna waste, in this position that we're attacking so much, every move is important. So let me do something to prevent him from moving the king to safety or from doing anything else. Now, is this safe? Yep, looks like it. Okay. Now, what about this followed by this? Or I could do queen h1. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Queen h1, check, then even queen h5. Okay, so let me get to the 7th rank, and now my queen could get to h5. I don't want to get ahead of myself. What if I do this followed by this? Think. All right. Guys, everyone knows that we have something here, but it's not so easy. What if we do rook g7? So now look, like I always say, pieces are active, we're putting pressure, tactics should be in the air. So I'm thinking of candidate moves like taking, king takes, queen h6, check, no. How about rook h8? How about knight h4, knight g6? So these are all candidate moves that I have to consider. I don't want to rush it. One mistake and the advantage is going to disappear. So you know what? I think I'm going to keep it simple with, or I could also do queen h5. No. Let me try this. Knight h4. Okay. Can I do knight g6? Yep. So you see more pieces coming to the attack. Now, what should I do next? Okay, look, this is very nice, bringing the rook to control this file, but I don't need it. Oh, queen h5, that's a move. That's the move, guys. So queen h5, I don't think the king could go anywhere, and I'm threatening a very nice, a very nice discovered check. So queen h5, putting more pressure on that king. Okay, so now what's the best way to take advantage of this? So guys, again, here I do not want to rush. I know that if I move the knight, it's a discovered check. The question is, where do I go? And think about this. Where would you put it? Would you go to h8, f8, e7, e5, f4, h4? Or we could do something that I've told you before in other lessons. We gotta ask ourselves, do they have anything on us? If that's the case, maybe we wanna leave them like that. Like this king cannot go anywhere. So I don't wanna rush it because look, I'm concerned that when I move my knight, let's say I just take here, it's a double check, I get a pawn. Well, when they move the king, the bishop is going to be hitting the queen. And I feel like they're going to get something, like gonna get some freedom, and we need to keep this pressure on them. So unless I'm missing something here, I think the king cannot go anywhere. They don't have, look, their pieces are not able to do anything. They don't even have any sacrifices like this. So I might just do something like rook b1 and try to bring the rook into the game. So I think I'm more into that. I don't want to rush it. Oh, wait. Our bishop is hanging. So maybe you see, I knew something could be missing. Oh, look, bishop h6. You know what? Let me take care of the bishop. Maybe king. No, you know what? Let me just move my bishop to. No. Think. Yeah, maybe we just move the bishop. And then we could continue with something. No, not with that. Okay, so now what if I do, let's reevaluate this. Here, king moves, nope. Bishop h6, nope. So now we have to be very careful with what he's trying to do. All right, guys, bishop h6 is definitely a very powerful move here. But again, I don't want to give him any edge. And this is very important. If I'm ahead like this, I need to keep my opponent's counterplay at a minimum. I don't want to give him an edge. If this knight gets active, all of a sudden things could get tricky for me. So I'm going to do bishop e2. I still don't see anything that they could do to get me in trouble. Right now, he's looking for ways to complicate the game. I have to prevent that. So let me just do bishop e2. And okay, now you see, so there's nothing. We kept it controlled. He's not going to create anything. So now that knight is not going to do anything to us. So bishop h6, it has to come, guys. The pawn is pinned. Everything is pinned. All right, knight d8. Can we just take now? Nah, or should we just bring the rook? All right, still nothing. Look, this last move is not attacking anything. So I have all the time in the world to activate the rook. Maybe we get to b8. No, he says no. All right, so what if we just do... take. Can I just do this discovered attack now? What if we just do bishop g7, he takes, knight h8. Well, I like that variation. Bishop takes, rook takes, and then knight h8. If the king goes to g8, I could do bishop e8 check. I mean, queen takes e8 check. So guys, let's do it in our head. So we're going to do bishop takes pawn, rook takes pawn. Then at that point, the rook is right here. I'm going to do knight h8. If the king goes back, well, we get the rook with a check. If the rook goes here, we could do queen takes bishop check. They could take our rook, and I think this rook could come into the game after. So unless I'm missing something, this should work out. All right, so let's give it a try. Bishop takes. Most likely he's going to take with a rook. Ooh. Okay, so we take with a check. What's the catch? I'm going to take, guys. If I die with my belly full. So give me the rook, check. Now I have a double check here. King takes. Ooh, no, I'm pinned. I don't have that. Is that what I missed? Well, check. Now, should I take with the pawn or with the queen? This is a very important decision because taking with the pawn is going to make this available for my knight. It's also going to make available for the queen. So I think I'm going to go pawn takes. Now, knight f5. Oof. Take and then g7. Right, let me just bring the knight into the game. Knight f5 with a tempo. Guys, look how many pieces around that king. So again, tactics have to be in the air. Now, we could even do rook h8. Or what's the best move here to finish this with a good combination? Maybe taking and then check. All right, let me just do this, keeping it simple. We're winning by a lot, guys, so it's very hard to get in trouble here. Okay, we could simplify the game, queen h8, or what if we just go, no. All right, let me get rid of the queens. So look, I could be looking here for a very nice tactic, a combination, but look, they only have bishop and knight. We have bishop and knight, plus another bishop, plus a rook. So let me just do this check here. It has to be the move. Now, if we do g7, they have to give us the knight. See, keeping it simple. I'm not looking for anything fancy, just keeping it simple. All right, let me just collect what's left. Check. And can we do just another check here? Let me just take another pawn. Guys, there's so many ways to finish this. We shouldn't even be doing this, but let's play it out. All right. Then we cut him off. And this should be king and rook checkmate. Okay. All right, this should be checkmate in the next move. All right, guys, so that's checkmate. Here you have it, 2 games. Let me know in the comments, like always, we're going to talk in the comments. Let me know if you think this is better than me playing live games. And we're going to play by ear. This is the only way for me to know what you guys prefer. Most likely, we're going to do a combination. Like sometimes we do against an engine. Sometimes we do live games. But I really want to know what you think. Also, if you found better moves, let me know, because I'm pretty sure I missed a lot of good moves, especially in this last position that there was so much going on. So I want to hear what you think. And next time that we do an engine, we gotta play someone who is over 2000. So maybe we play a 2100 engine. With that said, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. I hope that you found value in it. And I'm going to see you guys in our next lesson.